Hello dear ones, and welcome to October 2024, the energies and themes and the guidance for this month. As always, I am going to give you an overview of what's there in the collective field, what I perceive is there intuitively, as well as what might be going on for a lot of you in your personal lives as well. What themes and topics might come up and what might you be confronted with. And for October, what is very clearly tangible is the collective ego rising. And this also means that ego traits within you might be more visible and in the forefront of your experience. What do I mean by that? We know there is ego consciousness, which means identified consciousness. And with this, I also describe the consciousness of the illusionary self, the self that lives in lack, the self that needs something, the self that is being created by our own thoughts. And then we have the real true self, the essence, and the same goes for the collective. So what we're seeing right now, all these shadows that come up within the collective field, it is actually the collective ego that is coming up, meaning when something arises from lack, from fear, from limitation consciousness, then it's been created by the ego state, by the illusionary state. And this is what we see right now so much in the world, and it's gonna become intensified over the next few months to a point where it's almost, for a lot of you, going to seem unbearable to witness. But on the other hand, it is so important that we see this. It is so important that we notice this, because we need to move beyond it. What lies at the core of ego consciousness is the belief in separation. I am separate from the other. The same with countries. Countries trying to be separate from other countries, or any kind of separation, meaning I'm only able to hurt you or to do something that is not beneficial to you in order to benefit me if I believe you're separate from me. Then I can do this. Then I'm able to do this. It's not possible if I truly know that you're me and I'm you, and that I wouldn't want to hurt me, and so I would never want to hurt you. This can only happen when unity, consciousness, awareness of the oneness has been achieved and realized. We're on the road to that. We're on the journey to that as a collective, as humanity. I know it doesn't seem that way, and we have a lot of time to actually realize this, but this is what's happening because we are on a 4D positive path, meaning we are at a stage in human evolution where we pass the marker of decision, where it was like, are we going the negative path and the destructive path and the path of power and control over others, or are we going the unified path and the oneness path and service to other path? Now, that decision has been made, and the planet is moving forward with that type of consciousness. But of course, the road is rocky, and we're only at the very, very beginning of that. So in order for the old consciousness, where it could have very well gone in the direction of service to self path, like this planet becoming really a planet of domination, of elite and non-elite, of service to self mechanisms and frequencies, like it could, because this has been so predominant on this planet for thousands and thousands of years. We have shifted that, and we're still seeing, though, those old systems. And you've heard this a lot in the last couple of years, that old systems need to collapse now, and they do. And that process is a process. It's not just like you wake up one morning and, oh, it happened during the night. All the systems collapsed and let's build something new. And I can already see, the new flower coming through the pavement. That's not how it works. It's a process. And the main thing is that we realize that we are all part of this process. You and I were part of this process. And what has been going on for a long time now as well, and is going to continue, but what we don't want to add to, because it's not helpful, is we've constantly been trying to identify the bad guys, the culprits, the guilty ones. Who is doing all of that negative stuff? And we need to chase them and hunt them down, right? And while, yes, it is important that identification, meaning that we realize who is doing what, that's not where it stops. That's only the first step. And in my perception right now, what's happening is people are constantly and consistently and ongoingly recreating this habit of identifying who are the bad ones. Who are the ones trying to do bad things or negative things for humanity? What I'm perceiving is this message you already know. How often do you want to identify? How often do you want to point the finger? How many more proof points do you need in order to believe your own realizations? You already know. You already know what political decisions have been well-meaning and what have been ill-meaning. You already know what decisions in healthcare have been pro-humanity and against humanity. You already know what's going on in any other system, in the financial system, in the educational system. You already know what is positively influenced and positively intended and what is not. You keep yourself in a state of confusion where it's like, I'm so confused. I don't know who is well-meaning and not. I don't know if this strategy or that law or that how would I call this? That line of progression is for the better or for worse. You know. Stop telling yourself, I still need to identify, I still need to figure out, I still don't know. You know. Many of you know. Now, yes, many of you possibly not listening to this right now, many people are still totally in the dark and totally asleep. And they don't even think about wanting to know anything. They believe what they're being told, which is okay too. There is no judgment. But for you who are awakening and awake, you already know. So stop playing the game of investigation. Or start asking yourself, why am I still playing this game of investigating? Is it because it's exciting, it's interesting, it causes drama and a feeling of aliveness, and it bonds me together with others who think like me, and we can totally tell each other every day how bad others are or how we try to figure things out? Like, investigate within yourself that need for constant finger pointing or constantly telling yourself, I'm still so confused, I still need to figure things out. And maybe accept that you already know, and then move beyond the identification of I need to know who. So let's just say you know who and what. You know what feels right or kind or wise or loving or pro-humanity, and you know what doesn't. By now you know how the negative side, the negative path operates, the service to self path. which is also a valid path to go. You know their strategies. Their strategies are manipulation, deception, confusion, exploiting the good-heartedness of the good ones, of the good-hearted, power, control, and using your own free will against you, meaning they have to coerce you, they have to get you to agree to hand over your free will. So they deceive, they manipulate, and they're very good at this. When you ask me who is they who live in accordance with the negative path, the service to self path. And in the service to self path of evolution, there is always an elite and a non-elite. And the goal is always, if you want to put a human word on it, enslavement. And the deception is part of this because free will has been given by the divine system, right? By source. So they can't just enslave you, because that would not really give them that many bonus points, if you want to see it that way. Now, this is in accordance with the law of one that I'm telling you right now. All is one, and there's a positive and a negative path. And that negative path always creates hierarchy and power structures, and always aims to enslave the non-elite. But the way they do it is through manipulation and deception. They get you to agree to the enslavement without you knowing that you agree to the enslavement. And this is what has been happening for so long. Right now, what's coming up is their strategies more openly, the way they do it. And every day, people wake up and realize it. Now, yes, your first reaction might be anger and pain and hurt and frustration when you realize this. When you realize that the world is not what you thought it was, and when you realize that those who claim to work for you in your best interest are actually doing the exact opposite knowingly and willingly. And some of them are also just being used, not knowing that they're manipulated, right? Yes, it shatters your worldview, true. And there's a lot of reasons why you would not want to go down that rabbit hole, why you would not want to open your eyes and your heart and your awareness to that truth, because it's safer not to. Because otherwise you're going to have to deal with the old world crumbling. And then the question is, what do I do now? And this is where many of you are right now. You're at the point where you ask, what do I do now? So stop trying to identify who and what, and move beyond it now into the creation phase of what's next. Now that we see, now that we know, what now? What now? And we also know, you know, judgment and punishment is never going to lead to peace, and is never going to lead to an evolved state of being. So if we want to evolve, we need to meet this situation from a superior, meaning from a higher level of consciousness than where we were at before. Not anyone else, we. So how do we do this? First of all, we start by following the truth of teachings that we already know. What do we know? Forgiveness. Forgiveness releases you from all the ties. Forgiving others, forgiving yourself. So even with things on a global scale, evil stuff on a global scale, punishment and revenge and judgment will never lead to peace. will never lead forward in the evolution. And yeah, the negative side might think, oh yeah, forgive us, that's grand, like do that and feel good about yourselves because you forgave, and that way we have no consequences to fear. That's not what it's meant. There is always a consequence to every action on this planet, and evil is not being exempt from that, is not being excluded from that. So knowing that everyone will get anyway what they are sowing, everybody will get back what they are putting out. Always, always, because there is justice in the universe. There is balance, it's what it's called, in the universe. We don't have to create this balance through revenge, because that would create more imbalance still. We have to shower it with what we are, which is love and wisdom, right? This does not mean that there won't be a balance happening. But you do not have to create it, and you cannot create it through revenge and punishment. So we need to move beyond this. And in October, November, December, all of you, all of us, we know it's going to be intense with what's going on in the world. And then again, it's like we can make a big drama of it, or we can realize this is just one tiny point in time. Who actually cares? What is this really about? And it gets us to focus again on what it really is about. Your internal journey. Who are you in all of this? How are you in all of this? Are you living up to your own values, to your own principles, to your own knowingness and beingness? And what does it mean, especially being faced with and confronted with a world situation like this, or in your private life when you have people trying to control you, trying to manipulate you, when you feel under pressure, when you feel you cannot be yourself, when you don't know what to do? Then it's about time to focus inside, not to blame, not to judge, but using the situation to grow and evolve as a spiritual being, as a conscious being. Evolve in your consciousness. This is what this is about. The whole situation on the planet right now. Look, you and I, we will not be here for long. No one will be here for long. They will all be gone. Every single one who is alive right now won't be alive soon, alive on this planet. But while we are here, we get to contribute and create this earth, this life on earth, in little ways, in bigger ways. So we need to take responsibility for our own vibration, our own level of consciousness, our own evolution. So when you ask me, how do I deal with this then? Acknowledge first that you already know. When it comes truly from spirit, when it's filled with love and compassion and wisdom, and when it's not. You know, whether it's in your private life or globally. You know. And right now, they're trying to sell you things, tell you things that are exactly the opposite of what they are. They're saying the night is bright and the day is dark. And then they give you all these reasons why you start to doubt, well, I always thought it was the other way around, and I truly knew it was the other way around. And they're sowing doubt. That the most logical things you start to question. When this happens, the doorway is open for complete chaos. So you will not find the pillars to hold on to out there. They're always within you. The truth, the wisdom, and the guidance is within you. It's within you. And that's where you need to turn to. And from within, you will be guided to react and respond and grow in the situation right now. There is nothing, listen to me, there is nothing you need to fear. Not one thing. Quite the opposite. Open your heart to every single soul and every single situation on this planet and ask yourself, how can I deal with this, meet this, encounter this with love? How can I do that? Not with the feeling of emotional love, but with the attitude of love, compassion, and non-judgment. And that is only possible if you drop the fear. If you fear or feel anyone can cause any harm to you, there is fear there. And then you cannot say, I meet you with unconditional love, because you feel like you need to protect yourself. That's normal. And I know a lot of you are quick to type in, but what about this? What about that? What if I'm supposed to go to war? What if? And all these fears come up. And maybe some of you are already typing in the comments below. Just pause for a minute. You're now trying to justify your ego state of being, meaning your identified state of being in lack and fear. If you drop the fear, if you truly know nothing can happen to me, I am eternal, and I get to practice being an eternal, loving essence, consciousness right now in this totally insane world. You're not going to make the world sane, not in your lifetime. So you can also drop that expectation that you might have on you. This world is not going to turn sane within your or my lifetime. Not every single one here will become sane, free from this insanity here. Because what's happening is insanity. It's unconsciousness. Because if we were conscious, we'd be a love and bliss society, full with wisdom and knowing of the oneness that we all are, with each other and with Source. So we're not going to solve and sort the insanity on this planet during this lifetime. But we're responsible for our own sanity, for our own, I phrase it differently, consciousness, the level of our own consciousness in this lifetime. That's your responsibility. That's my responsibility. The whole world isn't. But what's going to happen once you focus on your own consciousness, meaning being more of who and what you are, love and wisdom, you're going to affect the collective consciousness. You're injecting more sanity into this world each day that you're on the planet. You not entertaining the insanity means you are elevating the consciousness of every single brother and sister here. It might still seem like a small drop in the ocean, but it is a drop in the ocean, and that ocean is made up of drops. So let's focus on this every day. And I know many of you, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear scandal and drama and whatnots as predictions for the next couple of weeks and months and years. You're going to get that, right? You're going to get that anyway, because the world has to, a majority of the world, create chaos and drama right now. Because it's losing its grip. The insanity is losing its grip. So there has to be this final stage. We know this from almost all the movies, right? This final stage of the last battle type of thing, where the bad guys create chaos and havoc and try to, even if they know they're going down, they try to take as many as they can with them. And our job is to, I know it sounds very stereotypical, but to hold the light. What does that mean? to stay conscious, to stay present in the beingness. Drop all the stories, all of this out there, and even in your own life. They're just stories. They're just stories. But we get to use these stories. We experience them. They're not like not happening. They're happening. But we get to use these stories in the way that is beneficial for us, what we want to do, how we want to use this, the same as we use our incarnation, our personality, our humanness, for what we want to express and be here. And that is always the message. That is the message, and that's the task, and that's the responsibility. And this is also the blessing. You get to do this now. This is how important you are. You get to do this here and now, for yourself and for everyone. It's about our journey into higher consciousness. And it starts with every single individual and their consciousness journey, meaning yours. So what are we going to do during the next few months when everything goes crazy and chaotic and dark, maybe even? We're increasing our determination to be the light. Not in foolishness, not in, I ignore everything and I paint my world pink and play with the unicorns under the rainbow. That's not what I'm talking about. We see everything, but we also know we decide how we view it, because everything is perception. We always have a certain perception, meaning perspective, lens through which we perceive. And this is what you have control over. So we get to choose, do we see it through the eyes of condemnation and separateness, or do we view everything as it's part of the journey, it's part of the evolution on planet Earth. Everything has its place. And I now get to choose the perspective of love. It might feel very unfamiliar and very maybe naive, which it isn't, especially if it's infused with wisdom. But it's different to what everyone tells you how things work here, because love is being kind of seen as very inferior and weak. It's not if it's the universal love. It's the greatest power that exists. So we can choose that perspective. And this means this will guide us into how we see things, how we comment on things, how we feel about them, and then what actions we carry into this world. And I'm going to leave you with this inspiration. Be the light and the love no matter what, because it's only a lens, it's a perspective. You can choose or not. If you choose hatred and disgust and separation, it's also valid. There is no judgment. But if you want a better world, and if you feel this can be a better world and should be free from suffering, free from limitations, a free world with free souls in it, then you need to act and live from that place of freedom. And true love, meaning unconditional love, is the only thing that can guarantee absolute and complete and total freedom, because it expects nothing. It has no rules. It has no limits. So by you being the space of unconditional love, you allow the freedom of everyone to express how they want to express, and you claim this freedom for yourself and for your brothers and sisters to walk forward and move forward in freedom. I'm going to love you and leave you for today, and we'll talk again next time if you want to.